So when you see behaviors that are other than happiness, contentment, and relaxation in dogs, they can stem from trapped emotions.
Hi, I'm April Hampton, and I designed my home based dog sitting and daycare business so that I earn well over 6 figures in sales annually while working less than 30 hours a week, giving me the freedom I desired and fulfilling my purpose while doing what I love. And this is the first home based dog sitting business podcast that shows you how to think, act, and be the top dog CEO from the inside out, while applying fundamental principles of the universe to proven business strategies, processes, dog management, and marketing techniques so that you actually create a business that supports your ideal lifestyle. A dog business you love because it is emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially sustainable. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Dog Sitter's House podcast. This is our first video podcast, and I'm so happy to welcome Chris Huppe to the podcast. She is a holistic health facilitator for animals. So I'm excited to dive into this interesting conversation about energy and emotions and trapped emotions in our animals and what we as humans and their pet sitters or dog walkers can do to help them or help their owners help them. So welcome, Chris. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, April. I'm super excited for this.
Yes, you're welcome. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come into doing this?
Okay, so I'll give you kind of the Reader's Digest version because we could talk for a long time just about that. But I started out working as a registered nurse, and my entire nursing career, which has spanned 34 years now, was in the emergency department in a very large tertiary care center, like in an urban city. And as you can imagine, I saw a lot of very sick people and took care of a lot of people in that time as a nurse. And what I experienced during that time was that we would have patient after patient after patient who, no matter what we expected and we thought was going to happen, it wouldn't happen. Something different would happen. So I saw people that, for all intents and purposes, we thought should have lived, by what we know in the textbooks, etc., and they would die.
Wow.
And then I saw people who we thought for sure were goners, so to speak, and they would live and actually even go on sometimes to have vital, full lives. And after many, many years of experiencing this wide variety of outcomes, no matter what we did in the ER, I came to realize that there's just more going on here than what we think there is. And I had never been introduced to a more holistic approach or Eastern medicine or certainly energy or anything like that. But that's what got my wheels turning. And at the same time, I got my first horse. And my first horse was just a behavioral mess. And he had a boatload of medical problems, of health problems. And so at that time, being conventionally trained and being that my experience, I went down the conventional train of trying to fix my horse, Benjamin, get him better, get him happy so that it was a lifelong dream for me to get a horse. I was 45 years old when I got my first horse. But I wasn't experiencing what I wanted because my horse wasn't happy. So I went through the Western medical system and I saw many, many vets and I saw even more trainers and I tried the tack and the supplements and the this and the that. And I wasn't getting anywhere. And I did that for about 2 years. And when I sink my teeth into something, I really sink my teeth into it. So I really went at it. And for 2 solid years, and I wasn't anywhere near where, I wasn't far away from where I had started. So it was at that point I kind of decided to go off on my own And I started to learn about alternative methods of health. And that led me to a more holistic approach, learning about Eastern medicine, and eventually really kind of zeroing in on that energy vibrational piece. I had worked with animals in different capacities in the past. I've worked at some veterinary hospitals, etc. I went on at that point to become an applied equine podiatrist, which is kind of like a holistic alternative to farrier, where you're still taking care of horse feet, but with a completely different approach, right? Western versus Eastern. And then so I've had my own practice in that venue for about 18 years now. And then I expanded into primarily dogs and cats. And now I work with animals and owners of animals that have domesticated pets, primarily horses and dogs. I do some cat work as well, and even some pocket animal health and birds and things like that. So, all domesticated animals, because my mission has become to improve the lives, the health, and the happiness of all domesticated animals.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow, what a story. Isn't it interesting how we always come about our purpose in life? You never think you'd end up where you end up, it seems like, but it's a beautiful story the way you get there.
Thank you. Yeah, so funny as I look back. And now that I see the reason that things happened that I had no idea at the time, it's taken me a very long time to really become who I was always meant to be.
Yeah,
But I've enjoyed every step of the journey. So
great. How was your first horse? Did you?
he's amazing. Have not seen a vet in 18 years.
Wow.
Since I started this journey, I learned how to take care of his feet. I learned how to take care of his body, and I learned how to take care of his emotions.
Oh,
And I put those three together. I never saw another vet.
wow.
People find that unbelievable, but he is just the most incredible, beautiful, flowing, connected being that you can imagine. And he's well into his 20s now.
Wow, he's lucky to have found you. So
Other
what,
way around, actually.
oh yeah, probably both, right? So what would you say are your main modalities or methods?
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I learned about people, so that's kind of what I learned about getting animals healthy. But what I learned about people when I started to try to share this was that people resonate with something that they can hang on to, something they can sink their teeth in to, something they can understand when they haven't gone this whole journey that I've gone. And so, as a result of that, what I started working with people on initially was nutrition,
Okay.
because that's an area where people feel they've got room to grow and they understand sometimes that what they're doing might not be serving their animal. Once I started with that, then that remained one of my tools.
Okay.
I also teach or have incorporated a small handful of natural tools. I call them tools, natural tools for people to get their animals happy and healthy. So, nutrition, I work a lot with herbs. I add a lot of essential oils, and then the whole emotional slash energetic piece. And when you bring all of those together so that you're providing the right physical environment and then helping the flow of the energy through the animal, it's a win-win. I
Nice.
start with the physical because I've just found that that's how people think. That's how we're trained. That's what we know. And that's where people will extend themselves. Once they start on the journey, then they're like, oh, I'm getting this now. And they take the next step and the next step, and they end up with the energetic emotional. But most of the time, most of my clients, it's a little bit of a journey to get there. So
Yeah.
those are the tools that I use.
I love that. I love that. In my past life as a life coach, one of the main core avenues or areas in everyone's life that we have to look at is their environment, right? Their
For
physical
sure.
environment. And I love that you start with nutrition and physical environment because not only is that a nice doorway in, but in my mind, that's also a way to start helping them gain a little bit of progress, get some wins, some baby
Yeah,
wins in. And once they start getting some baby wins in, their mind opens up more, they trust you more, they're more willing to try more of what you say,
right.
and go on with it. So that's beautiful. Now, what I absolutely am so excited about talking with you today is about the emotional stuff. So let's dive into that and just tell me, what do you mean when you're helping
Okay.
them with emotion? Like, what in the world are you talking about? So tell
Right. Right. So when I started learning about energy and vibration, of course, that led me to learn about meridians and chi, or what the Chinese will call life force that travels through the body. And although those channels are invisible to us humans, they're every bit as real as the blood vessels that we can actually picture in the horses. They're actual in the horses and the animals. They're actual channels that travel through the body. And what I learned in my journey was how important it is that those channels remain clear, right? And we can liken this to the vasculature in the animal's body because everybody knows if there's a blockage in your cardiac system, you're subject to having a heart attack. If
me.
there's a blockage in your neurological system, you're subject to having a stroke.
Mhm.
And so the clearance and the pathway and the flow of whatever's going through the channel is of utmost importance when it comes to health. So I gave you some examples of physical flow and the health um, complications that can happen if there's a blockage. And what I learned in my journey of learning about the rest of what makes us healthy is this whole energetic piece. And so I started to learn about meridians and the importance of flow within them. And that led me to lead to find out, well, what can cause the blockages and what can I do about it as an animal owner. And since then, I've extended that into how can I help my clients? How can I help your clients to learn what they can do to help their animals' energy flow be clear and free and easy so that the animal can experience as much health and happiness as they can possibly get in the world that we've created for them, which probably is a whole nother podcast episode because we've not created a world that is conducive to our animals' health and happiness. But I won't go down that pathway right now. So, what do we do to clear those channels? And there are some processes that I've learned and that I can share with people and that I utilize regularly. But in my journey, what I eventually found was this fact. I'm going to be so bold, April, as to actually say fact. Some people might say theory because we don't prove this stuff in science peer-reviewed material right now. I'm sure that we will. The humans will catch up to what the ancient philosophers always knew and are proven now to be correct. But we didn't understand all of the ways that blockages can happen in that channel, those channels. And one thing that I found was that when a being, this is actually true for humans as well as all of the animals, when a being experiences something in their life of a negative nature, which we all do, we all have grief, we all have fear, we all have disappointment. Um, Sometimes both the animals and the humans are better equipped to process those emotions. And that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have an emotion and you're supposed to process it and then release it from the body. Well, for many, many reasons, which we can talk about, sometimes we don't release them.
Yeah.
That's where we get in trouble because the result of not releasing those negative emotions is that they turn into a swirling ball of energy that gets stuck
Mm.
in the pathway, gets stuck in the meridian.
Okay.
Now, we can't see this. And so for some of us, that's going to be like, that's really hard to believe. But you know what? I don't see when I push my fingers on a few buttons how my family member in Taiwan receives that instantaneously either. I don't
Yeah.
know how you and I are talking today. I don't understand it, but I know it's true. It's right
Right.
here in front of me. And that's the depth to which I understand the fact that I can't see these energy pathways and I can't see the swirling balls of energy that a result when the processing of an emotion and the release doesn't happen, but I know it's true.
Right.
And what happens when we have blockages in our energetic pathways is imbalance. Now,
Mhm.
if you know anything at all, anything about Eastern medicine, you know balance is at the core of everything.
Yeah.
It's the yin and the yang.
Yep.
And that's what they're always trying to create. We're not trying to eliminate bad feelings or eliminate situations that would be impossible and not conducive to life on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Those things are going to
That
happen.
would take you out of balance, right?
For
Probably.
sure,
Yeah.
for sure. It's a balance.
Yeah.
It's like the microbes in the digestive system. You're never going to obliterate your dog's parasites. We all have parasites. You're supposed to have parasites. It's the balance between the good and the bad.
Right.
So when you have a blockage that occurs in your body and the flow of energy is not allowed through, you develop imbalances, and that comes out both in physical and in emotional slash behavioral symptoms and signs that
Okay.
we then experience, that our animals experience.
Okay. Okay, so I think a lot of us, I'm going to take us back a little bit and then we're going to come back forward to what are some of the signs that might tell you that that animal you're watching or caring for or even your own could have some blockage going on. But let me jump back and ask you first, what are some things that causes this in animals and even in humans? And maybe humans we're probably more familiar with, so maybe a couple examples, but I'm really curious as to what kind of things or situations you've come across that you feel has caused blockages in animals.
So, I mean, the obvious one, of course, is abuse
Yeah, yeah.
and neglect.
Mm.
But beyond the obvious, there's many, many more. Just like people, animals, I'm sure everyone on this podcast recognizes, have a variety of personalities. And some animals are very, very sensitive, and some animals are, shall we say, more confident, more strong, more stoic.
Resilient. Yeah.
So your personality of the animal will be one influencer on whether these emotions get processed or whether they get released
Oh,
or trapped. The
okay.
other thing that can matter is the experiences that particular animal has had. And animals have had a wide variety of experiences from very, very good to very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So you take their innate personality and ability to handle emotion, and then pair that with the experiences that they've encountered in their own individual's life. And both of those things can impact um, the ability of the body to release emotions. Another influencer I've observed is the animal's early beginning. So when they were puppies, were they allowed to stay with their mother or were they taken away from their mother maybe too early?
Yeah.
Were they allowed to stay with their mother at the appropriate amount of time for that particular individual? So maybe some animals can be taken away from their mother at 6 or 8 weeks and be confident and move forward and process their emotions. Maybe that more sensitive animal actually needed more time and wasn't allowed because in our society, right, we have an acceptable period of time and then we move them apart and on they go.
Right.
What kind of mother did the animal have? Was it a nurturing mother? Was it a mother that had owners that allowed the mother to teach
Oh,
and to comfort and to nurture? Or was it a mother who, for any number of reasons, maybe her own trapped emotions, pushed that child away, pushed that baby away, pushed that puppy away, and didn't teach
oh,
whether she was left with the animal or not?
right.
So you have all of these influences that gather together such that the emotions that one normally goes through in their life are either dealt with and processed or not.
Okay. Okay. It's interesting. I have a personal question on that because my I have two dogs and my first one was 5 months old before I got him. So he before he left his mother. So could it be that direction too, whereas they were with them too long?
I haven't actually seen that be an influencer because the point is the early childhood teaching and whether that was allowed to occur. And by 5 months, for the most part, we would assume that our puppies would be able to have had the important teaching in their lives to help them deal with what they're going to experience in life
Yeah. Okay.
on a healthy basis. Now, I don't want to go too far down this pathway, but I don't want to leave out a complete answer besides the fact that every individual animal has its individual situation that could lead to trapped emotions, who they are, how they were raised, what kind of parenting they had. Trapped emotions can also occur as a result of being inherited from ancestors.
Oh, right. Okay.
So if the mother has trapped emotions that have not been allowed to be processed during her pregnancy,
Oh my.
she can actually pass those emotions on to her puppy,
Wow.
then who is actually born with these trapped emotions.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of different ways that they can come into somebody's experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes so deep. I never thought about how deep
Yeah,
it
very deep, generations back.
yeah, that's wild.
Um, and not only that, but the situations that animals go through don't have to be horrible from our perspective, right? So we might all look at a neglect case or an abuse case and say, oh my gosh, what that puppy, what that dog has been through. But sensitive beings can go through what we might experience to be normal situations or disregard as being all that traumatic and could have had a traumatic enough experience from the receiving being. Some examples: fireworks,
Oh, yes.
an attack from a brother and sister or another dog, where
Oh,
let's say it wasn't horrible, right?
right.
The puppy felt vulnerable and felt attacked and maybe had its feelings hurt because it was just playing with that puppy and loved that other puppy.
Right.
So these things, we would break up the fight and walk away, right? We'd be like, oh, the puppies are at play. 4th of July comes along every single year, and we're like, oh, if you're a dog owner, you're pretty much like, I hate this holiday, but we just get through it.
Right.
But to some beings, they don't just get through it.
Right.
It's traumatic for them, and we don't recognize it as the trauma that it is.
Yes.
So
Okay.
there's a number of different issues that can lead to these kinds of
Yeah.
situations.
Fascinating. So how would a puppy, for instance, have experienced something traumatic and release it? How do they release emotions? I mean, you and I, we can talk to each other, we can talk to a therapist, we can get it off our chest, we can journal, right? We can, go scream in a pillow if we want. We can get it out. But how do the animals get it out?
So they talk to each other, they talk to us, movement of the body,
Mm, okay.
being nurtured and cared for appropriately.
Mm,
And in the world that we're living in, those things aren't taken for granted anymore.
hmm.
There are dogs that are not listened to.
Yeah.
There are dogs that are talking, screaming, and nobody's listening and giving them what they need. There are dogs that are not getting movement and exercise in their bodies. Dogs are moving beings. They're not designed to sit 24/7.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a healthy physical body? Is your nutrition appropriately? Is your gut microbe balanced? Are you getting what you need? All of these things aid to the ability of a being to express their emotions so that they can be processed appropriately and released by the body.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So, as a dog boarding and daycare facility myself, when I'm introducing dogs and I have a dog that does a little air snap, because somebody's sniffing their booty and they don't like it, uh, I allow that. I allow them to do a little air snap, to say,
Yeah.
hey, this is my boundary. You've sniffed enough. Now back off, right? To have a voice. I say it's given them the voice. And
Yep.
so that way, when they're here, they're confident they can speak up for themselves when they need to.
Yep.
Is that good? Is that them releasing energy also at that moment?
I think that's great. And I think I would do the same. That's that's the communication, right? That we're talking about. We're not going to block communication. We want them to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfectly appropriate. Now, how the receiver, so that would be a positive step in having that dog, the little snarly dog, be able to express and process the emotion that he or she is going through upon meeting the new animal. Now, how is the new dog receiving that? Is that completely within your control? Probably not, because the new dog is who he or she is, and they're dealing with a big new experience, which could be overwhelming in totality.
Yeah.
Coming to your home, meeting new dogs. How well adjusted is that dog? How healthy is that dog? It may not be something that's 100% within your control to not have happen.
Yeah.
That's this life is life. The world is the world. The dogs are going to meet new dogs. They're going to be in situations. And all of the things that we just went through are going to add up to how those dogs process that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a perfectly fine um, allowance that you have. And then I would just encourage someone in your position to be cognizant of what each dog is saying beyond that.
Yeah.
If that dog that you bring in needs a little extra time before they're in with the pack, then that's incumbent on us to try to read and figure out and give that dog what they need. But there's no way that you can necessarily stop trapped emotions from being formed. You're not putting them upon the dog. It's whether the dog can process its emotions that it's going through and release them. And
Okay.
that's not your, you don't have that ability.
Right, right. We do little tricks here where if that happens, more so for the dog that was putting the boundary up, we say, okay, let's go out in the yard because that might happen on the back deck where it's a little narrow and they might be in a smaller space, and feel a little bit more trapped. And so I said, let's go out in the yard, everybody. And the two,
Yeah,
whether I have two out there already or three or four, whatever, they all go out in the yard with me. And it's almost like you can hear a collective sigh of relief
for
because
sure.
they have the space to get away if they need to, if they feel uncomfortable.
So important for them not to feel backed into a corner.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
fascinating. So,
yeah. So
okay.
anything as a caregiver, anything that you could do to keep your dogs at ease and feeling in control will help them to not develop trapped emotions. But so much of it also is out of your control. You don't know. You haven't lived that dog's life prior to it coming to you.
Right.
Dog may be very sensitive and may have created kind of an internal environment where they've never been allowed to express themselves. And so
Right.
they tend to hold things in and not let them go more than another dog.
Yeah.
So we do the best we can in
Yeah.
our human dog interaction.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so this brings me into the other question of what are some signs or behaviors that some physical symptoms that you might look at a dog that's in your care and say, okay, this animal has some trapped emotions possibly.
Yeah. Okay. So if we haven't already blown the minds of your listeners, this will do it. Trapped emotions begin in the energetic world where they become a swirling ball of energy and they actually get lodged somewhere in the body. They
Okay.
literally get lodged like a blockade. That blockage can come out and express itself in ways that humans can observe it, either physically or behaviorally slash emotionally.
Okay.
So hear me, and I'm going to repeat this if I have to. All physical symptoms, diseases, problems that you see in dogs today can, and in my belief, do begin in the energetic world.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know that's a very strong statement, but in the time I've been doing this, that's what I've learned, and that's why I have to speak my truth.
Yes.
Even if I just introduce the concept today and people go home and just think about it, everything you see in terms of a physical manifestation, from a disease process to a symptom that you only see once in a while to an occasional, it's all started in the energetic world. And if we as humans could learn to help our animals at that energetic level, I believe the physical manifestations would not develop.
That would be amazing.
Totally amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing that can manifest is behavioral problems. Now, I said behavioral slash emotional because most of us recognize the emotional problems as behavioral
Hmm.
issues
Okay.
that we have to deal with. So, whether a dog is depressed and despondent, or whether a dog is overly excitable, I don't want to use the word, I'm not going to use that word. I'm going to say if a dog is aggressive and has trouble interacting, and I didn't want to use that V word because it has a very, very low vibration. And words have vibrations, and I'm careful about what I choose because I want to communicate clearly, but I want to keep the conversation at such a level that we are talking about and under the umbrella of joy and health, even though it's a difficult thing sometimes to talk about. So I don't want to bring the conversation to a low vibration.
Yeah.
Uh, I digress. So when you see behaviors that are other than happiness, contentment, and relaxation in dogs, they can stem from trapped emotions.
Really? That's a
So
lot. That's a
it's a
lot.
it's a very wide variety
Yeah.
of issues. And what happens is, as humans, we can't help it. We're humans. There's nothing to apologize there for. We're doing the best we can with what we have.
Yeah.
And we're not as all welling, all well knowing as some people on the earth seem to think that they've got it all figured out. I think
Yeah.
we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So what happens when we have a behavioral problem or a physical problem is we take our animal to get fixed.
Hmm.
We take them to the vet. We take them to someone who we think can physically help them. We change our food. We get them exercise. We do these things that we can sink our teeth into to try to change what we're observing. We
Hmm.
take them to a trainer to change what we're observing, either a health crisis or a behavioral crisis.
Right.
And many times we kind of stop there because we think we have fixed the problem. Underneath it all, there still can be the root cause of trapped emotions. A sad and scary fact is that most animals have not one, not two, not 10, but dozens.
Wow.
In some cases, maybe even more than that,
Oh.
trapped emotions that need to be energetically released from the body for the animal to really be able to find the health and happiness that we so badly want for them.
Right. Oh, that's so sad when you think about it. So
It's so sad and
if
it's so beautiful all at the same time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me ask you if, we notice a behavioral issue and we take them to a trainer and we train that quote unquote out of them, but it's very likely it's still trapped within them. It's just, does it show up in other ways? Can it then show up in physical manifestation? You know, does it normally show up in other ways?
Right. So there from for to answer this question, I'll come from my belief and
Okay.
my experience.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I believe so strongly, pardon me, that energetics and vibration is at the root cause of both physical and behavioral problems. That if you have trapped emotions and they result in a behavioral issue, and then you correct the behavioral issue by molding it to fit into the human world, but the trapped emotion goes unresolved. I absolutely believe that given enough time, that will manifest into a physical
Wow.
problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so repeat what you said before because I think that was so important. You said basically if the dog or the animal is not in, you said you rattled off like three things like happy, relaxed,
Uh,
calm, something.
Happy, relaxed, contentment was in my mind, but I don't think that word came out. But if they are not able to be themselves
Okay,
and what makes them them
then that could be trapping
could be
emotions.
as a result of trapped
So
emotions.
that could be a sign. Okay.
That could be a sign. That's
Okay.
right.
So as a home dog boarder myself, if I'm seeing that and I'm seeing it continuously in a dog, what is something I can either try and do to help the dog or maybe recommend to the owners to help the dog?
Right. Right. So I'm going to give you a little analogy here. When we first started, and I said, most of the time when I start working with people, I work with animals that are not healthy. And most of the time I start helping people understand how to do some physical things to get their animal started on the right path. And eventually we move our way into the energetic space. But it's important for me to start physical because that's what they want. That's what they expect. That's what they sink their teeth into. That's what they understand. But once they start to trust me and see that I can actually help them, we move into the energetic slash vibrational space because I know if I just give them all the physical stuff and I ignore the rest of it, their animal's not going to get to where we both want it to be.
Okay, yeah.
So, what I would say to your listeners, if you are a sitter or a boarder, is you probably have to start in the same way. You have to develop a level of trust with your clients so they know and trust you with their beloved animals. And there's a lot of trusting to be had there. Take it from somebody who has like nobody to take care of my dogs. I have special needs dogs and I haven't
Oh,
found somebody that I feel that level of trust with. So, you've got to develop probably a level of trust first because what I would recommend is that eventually if you have dogs that are difficult or sad or maladjusted and unbalanced in some way, you have the ability to say to the owner, I want to plant this seed. I've had your dog for a couple of months now. I've noticed these behaviors or physical symptoms. And have you ever thought that maybe there's an emotional component to that?
Mm,
You know, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there's actually such a thing of trapped energy in the body. When you start talking to people about trapped emotions, let me tell you, the light bulbs go on because there's not a one of us who can't picture this in our minds. Things that have happened in our life that we know we haven't fully processed. And the way you know if you fully process something is when you think about it, does it give you some sort of a bad emotion,
right.
make you shudder, tighten up? How well do you know yourself to recognize that? That's how you know you haven't processed an emotion. If you can think back to an experience in your life and it still makes you go like cringe,
Yeah.
an emotion that's trapped in you.
Yeah. Or
You should give
angry or sad or yeah.
a whole myriad,
Yeah.
right? Of
Okay.
emotions.
Yeah.
You should be able to think back to those experiences in your life, no matter how traumatic they were, and not feel those emotions
Yeah.
creeping up in your body.
Just know.
So, anyway, we got off a little bit of a tangent there. So,
I'm thinking of all
talk,
the things that I'm triggered by still.
listen, April, we all are. We all are. And now I recognize them when I have feelings about something that I know I shouldn't have feelings about. I know that there's something stuck there that
Yeah.
has been processed.
Right.
So the first thing I would say to your peeps is introduce the concept to your owners.
Okay.
Because if your owners are resonate with it and are interested and are into their dogs, which they have to be because they're hiring you, they
Yeah.
care about their dogs during the day when they're gone and whatnot. They can start to learn what they can do to help their dog emotionally and energetically. And that's going to bring such a value to those dogs' lives.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the trapped emotions themselves, there's actually a process that we employ. And there are practitioners of that process out there in the world. I'm one of them. But more importantly, maybe I would share with you that anyone can learn to do this and can become a practitioner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, anyone who is interested in learning about that for themselves can certainly reach out to me and I can share how they themselves can learn the process. You can get certified or not. You can learn the process for free, by the way, without getting certified. If you want to become a practitioner, what an amazing thing to offer clients and how to differentiate yourself as a business owner and how to broaden the services that you offer without necessarily bringing in more dogs. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of potential here. First and foremost, the only thing I really care about talking about is helping the dogs.
Yes.
But secondarily to that, April, the sky's the limit for your practitioners. They can help their dogs by helping the owners understand that this exists and tell them how to find a practitioner,
Okay.
or they can offer this service themselves.
Yeah, that's
And if
beautiful.
you're going to offer the service, I would say invest in getting certified, but you don't have to. That's your option. If anyone's listening to this and it's really resonating and you're getting excited the way I did when I learned about this, I mean I couldn't. I was full speed ahead because I was like this is the missing piece.
Yeah.
I've been working with the
Golden ticket.
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
been working with the physical. I've been working with the energetic, and I have plenty of processes for energetic work with my animals.
Yeah.
But this was the piece because it's underneath it all.
Yes. Yes. The
It's mind
power.
blowing.
Yes. So tell me the definition of epigenetics, because that's basically it, right? How would
So,
you explain that?
epigenetics is basically like the understanding of how the environment influences genes and behavior and actually who we become.
Okay. Okay.
So, this
And
does
that can
kind of,
be emotional environment too.
for sure,
That's a big part
absolutely,
of it. Okay. Yeah.
absolutely. And remember, these trapped emotions don't have to be our fault, so to speak. Nobody's blaming anybody here.
Right.
It's a combination of the being and what the being experiences and what the being was given to them as part of their being.
Yes. Yes.
So there's nobody to blame.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we have bad people in our animals' lives, we got plenty of things we can blame them for. But you can absolutely have an animal And I have had and serviced many that have had beautiful lives from the day they were born. No one's ever abused or neglected them. And trapped emotions is still a thing
Yes.
because they may not learn how to fully process their emotions or they have inherited trapped emotions.
Right. I think I have one of those dogs. I think I do. I'm working with them. So tell me, when it comes to our own energy or trapped emotions, does that affect the dogs that we're caring for
Oh,
that's under
I
our care?
love this. I love this question. Thank you for asking it. So, this is another way that your people can help and service both the dogs that they take care of as well as the owners that pay them to take care of their dogs.
Okay, good.
So, we're all energetic beings, right? All us humans, all the beings, all the live animals on the planet, we're all energetic in physical form.
Yes.
We all vibrate at a particular level. This may be new to some people that are listening, or maybe because it's very well known information. We're energetic and we vibrate.
Yes.
The level at which we vibrate is measured in frequency. That's the word we use to measure it.
Mhm.
And there is a range of infinite frequencies. And everything in the world has a frequency. Health has a frequency, dis-ease has a frequency, sadness, anger, cancer, the common cold, happiness, love, everything has a frequency. Thoughts all have frequencies, words have frequencies.
Yeah.
Started to go down that path before. It's very important, by the way, the words that you use with your animals. I'm going to digress for 1 second. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
to say
That's
this.
interesting. Yes, tell me.
Do not be a caregiver who thinks it's okay to use negative words in a joyful tone with a smile on your face and think that that negates or covers up the fact that you're really calling that animal a jerk
Yeah.
or telling them they're a brat. The words themselves, actual words, now this actually has been proven in science.
Yes. Okay.
Words themselves carry vibrations.
Mhm.
Now, the tone and your feelings when you put the words out carry vibrations as well. But so I've seen so many people be like, "Oh, you're such a jerk." No, that, that doesn't work. So,
So I better stop my you little stinker butt.
yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of cutesy, right? Like if you have I think the word stinky by nature isn't necessarily got a low vibration. It's not
Okay, good.
name calling or rooted in negativity.
Yeah, of
It's cute.
character.
Yeah. And put together with but and like I'm good with that. It feels good. But the word brat, the word jerk, the word a-hole, that
Yeah,
doesn't feel good. I don't care how you
right,
say it. Those words are negative and
right.
they carry a very low vibration. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So as caregivers, as business people, it's incumbent upon us to understand this and to do whatever we can in our lives to keep our vibration as high as we can because our animals who are much more energetically focused than we are because they don't have the kind of brain that we have, our animals are like little tuning forks. And I know that many of you have recognized this. What mood you're in for the day and the energy that you're putting out for the day, you'll see it in your pack, right? You
Yes.
see it in your own
Instantly.
animals.
Instantly, yeah.
That's the vibration that you're emitting into the world.
Yes.
So it's incumbent upon you to keep your vibration as high as you can. Do what you have to do as an individual. Take responsibility. Be accountable to set yourself up for a good day with your dogs
I like that.
because it's going to define the day that you have because you're emitting this frequency and they, more energetically tuned than we are going to sync up with it to a great degree. So
Yeah.
if you're going to put stuff out there that's at a low vibration, you're going to bring everyone's vibration down and you're going to see issues as a result of that.
Yeah.
And that this subject of managing our own frequency is a very big subject and it's harder done than said.
Yeah, I agree.
You might be upset. You might have something going on in your family, in your life. You may have had an argument. Something's happened. Look, we're living human experiences. You're not immune.
Yeah.
So, what can you put in place to raise your vibration before you bring your dogs in for the day? That's where we need to do our work.
Yes. Yes. So do you have any tips? Like say
Oh my God.
say you have all these dogs around you in your home or you're a dog walker and you're walking multiple dogs at once and all of a sudden you get a text and it's something that makes you sad or angry or
Right,
something. What
right.
do you do?
So this is such a big topic, and I love this topic, but it's so, so big. I'm going to boil it down to what to focus on. To focus on is for yourself learning to manage your emotions.
Hmm.
I'm just going to zero it down to that. Now, this is going to be different for every person. For some people, it's taking space. For
Yeah.
some people, it's writing in a journal. For some people, it's doing breath work. Again, very well documented. For
Yeah.
some people, it's tapping. For some people, it's taking a bath. For
Oh,
some people, it's getting out in nature, petting your dog. Um, I just thought of one that flew in and flew out that I wanted to say, listening to music,
okay. I was going to say singing.
singing. So it's incumbent upon each of us to figure that out, April.
Yeah.
What brings me to a higher vibration when I've been triggered into a lower vibration?
Yes. Yes.
And that's a very far-reaching topic, right? Because now we get back into who we are and how we handle life and what trapped emotions do we have, by the way?
Right.
And how have we been taught? And what was our beginning story? And what did we inherit?
Yeah. Very good.
So each of us, I believe, needs to, if you want to live if you want to live your purpose, if you want to be authentic, if you want to put out into the world something that you actually think is important and you want to leave behind and not just go through the world going through the motions, then this is incumbent upon all of us to figure out this. How do I manage my emotions? You can't manage the outside world. You can't manage your husband. You can't manage your children. You can't manage
Custom.
um your customers.
Right. Yeah.
So the only thing you've got, girl, is you. And you
Yes.
need to figure this out for yourself. And each one of you right now, you're thinking to yourself, what happens to me when I get triggered? What happens to me how do I get triggered? If I'm sad, do I manage that or do I take that into my day? When I'm mad, do I swear? Do I throw things? Do I yell? Do I get pissy?
Right.
Or can I implement any one of the above or many more that I just talked about to bring myself back and choose, because it's a choice, to
Yes.
put out what I want to in the world, whether it's to other people or to my clients' dogs.
Right.
Listen, it's a choice.
Yes. I love that.
Believe it
Beautiful.
or not, it is a choice.
So if you make the choice right then and there to change your vibration by doing breath work or music or whatever the choice is it important that you go back to that and try to is it released then or do you need to go back and release it, the emotion?
No, if you were able to do that, it would help you to not develop the trapped emotions.
Okay. Oh, good.
So that would not necessarily be relative to releasing them. That would be to help yourself not
Get
have it continue
first.
to layer and layer and layer. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, very good. I love that. Okay, good. So, do you have any stories? I'd love to hear an anecdote or two about some stories that you've helped people with and their animals, having trapped emotions. What
Yeah.
what was
Yeah.
the before and after?
Yeah. So I think I'll start by going back to my horse Benjamin because I started with the physical with him, right? That was when I was in the whole conventionally thinking world. And I
Yeah.
saw the vets and I did this and I did that and I did all the physical stuff. And I found out that he had Lyme and, I gave him the antibiotics and all of that kind of stuff. And I really got him kind of situated physically in a much better place. But
Okay.
we had a lot of behavioral issues that were not changing. So while he was more physically fit, um, I was still getting bucked off, and there was a lot of very serious problems. And it wasn't until I started doing the energy work with him and eventually got into the trapped emotions that I got the soft, supple, non-bucking, non-bolting, trustworthy
Oh,
animal.
beautiful.
It was very separate,
Yeah.
which was very interesting because I exhausted my potential with the physical, but I still had the problems. Because here's the thing, when it comes to getting your animals to be as happy and healthy as they can be, it requires both of these components. You can't fix an animal physically and have it be complete in terms of their health and happiness. Health is more than just physical.
Right.
And likewise, you can't just figure out the emotional, energetic piece, but not address the physical part because we are physical beings
Yes.
and have them express themselves fully happy and healthy. So
Yeah.
it's both of these components. So that was one example where it was, I don't I hate the word. It was just short of miraculous. It's just night and day.
How,
Um,
let me ask you how did you release trapped emotion from him? I thought,
so he was kind of in my early career, right, where I was learning and not
yeah.
necessarily teaching. I've refined my processes now. I went through a myriad of energetic work with him
Okay.
and kind of different layers of that, learning how to clear the meridians of blockages.
Okay, yeah. So how would you do that stuff today then? Now,
So
'cause
today I pretty much jump right to the process of releasing trapped emotions much quicker than I normally would have because I know that that's really at the core.
yeah.
So I do that as a practitioner. We do it with a magnet. It can be done remotely. It can be done
Oh
in
wow.
person. But basically, you take a magnet, and any magnet will do. But this is the one that I use. It's just a magnet, and
Okay.
run it over the governing meridian a certain number of times, depending on where the trapped emotion came from.
Okay.
And once you've identified the emotion, you identify the emotion through using the process of muscle testing or applied kinesiology, if you're familiar with that term.
Yes, yes.
And so you identify emotions. There are 60 of them that we identify. Now, we have more than 60 words for emotions, but every emotion kind of links up with one of those 60. And the
Okay.
emotions, we kind of identify them. We ask the body, is this emotion trapped? We ask the body, and the body answers us. And
Okay.
then if it is trapped, we release it using the magnet. And if I'm totally transparent, we actually don't have to use a magnet at all. We can use the energy in our hands running over the governing meridian to release the emotion.
Beautiful. And so you've just been able to train yourself to feel that frequency or blockage or emotion.
Right. So we literally ask the subconscious of the being, the dog, we literally ask their subconscious, do you have trapped emotions? The body answers us and says yes or no.
Oh wow.
And then we zero in on what that emotion is. Eventually, so is it this? No. Is it this? No. Is it this? No. Is it this? Yes. Oh, okay. It's hatred. That's one of the emotions.
Yeah.
Then we release that emotion. Then we continue on. Is there another trapped emotion that I can release today? The body will only release the number and specific emotions it's ready to release
Mm.
in each session that you try to do this. The
Okay.
body also needs a little bit of processing time, oftentimes afterwards. It can be anywhere from a couple of hours to several days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Um, and there's a whole nother piece of this called heart walls, where beings actually establish energetic walls around their heart when they've been hurt so badly that their heart, which keeps them alive, needs to be protected. So
Oh,
there's a lot of layers to this. It's
yeah. Oh, okay. So how can how can someone set themselves up as a pet sitter or dog walker or what have you? How can they set themselves up every day to be in a higher vibration?
so the first thing they have to do is do the work to figure out for themselves as individuals what process they need to utilize to be able to manage their emotions. And it takes work and it takes practice. And then they're going to just start practicing it every day in their lives because we get triggered all day, every day.
Yeah.
Somebody beeping at us or the line in the grocery store, it doesn't have to be something earth-shattering. But
Right.
when you start to learn to feel into yourself and recognize, so many people are so blocked, they don't even know when they're getting tense. They
Right.
don't even know when they're starting to drop their vibration.
Yeah.
Never mind how to control it, April.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I feel like a lot of us, if we're, a big challenge in this field as this type of business owner is just burnout and stress. Like it's just constant. It can be, if you're boarding at home, especially, it can be constant chaos and constant stress. Your cortisol is always spiking because a dog is snapping or barking or, having an accident in the house or whatever. And so your cortisol is always spiking. And so I think when you get into that constant state of sympathetic mode where your central nervous system's going, then it becomes numb and you don't even if you were someone who normally is very self-aware, sometimes those that self-awareness, blindness happens,
For
right?
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So therein lies the challenge.
Yeah.
And therein lies the question for each individual. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a business owner? Who do you want to be for these dogs? Do you care enough to take it upon yourself? And if you do, then this is what you learn we have to start with ourselves because we're the only ones that can control. You know, it would be like a super fun challenge. Like I would love this project or this challenge. Take take one of your dog people that has a dog daycare that's normally chaotic and set a challenge to get to the point where you could get all the dogs napping simultaneously. And you go from chaos to everybody's taking a nap. Number one, what a marketing tool that would be. But you know what? You know where you'd have to start with that? You'd have to start with yourself because
Inside.
you have to be able to manage your vibration.
Yes.
And then you'd start with each dog being able to manage this one's and then adding this one and then adding this one. And eventually you could get to the point where you could set the vibrational tone and manage it. But it all starts with the person.
Yes.
You're never going to get there with your dogs if you're chaotic and your adrenaline and you're sympathetic and your adrenals are just firing all the time.
Right.
Like you said, some people don't even recognize that. Like the first dog comes into their house for the day and their adrenals, their physiology is responding, but they're acting totally calm, cool, and collected. Oh, yeah, it's all good. They don't even recognize themselves. So that's kind of the starting point. It's work. This is work. But
Yeah.
do you want to live and create the life you want to live? Or do you just want to let life happen to you and live the chaos every day?
Yes. Right. No, thank you.
Again, another choice.
I know when I first started this business, I was so on edge all the time, just worried about the dogs not fighting,
Yeah,
right? Having multiple dogs from multiple households and personalities and behavioral issues and trapped emotions coming
yeah.
into your home and not knowing each other very well yet and still adding new ones all of the time. It was nerve-wracking. And I realize now in retrospect how tense I had been during those days compared to now, where it's like an old hat for me now. I'm not so helicopter-ish
Yeah.
anymore, right? So
Yeah.
so even just things like that, or one example for me I know was when I would try to go back to I don't let the dogs follow me to the bedroom. And unless I am letting them sleep in there with me, they're not coming back there with me. So I can have room to walk, go get done what I need to do, get changed, whatever it is, and then come back out. And I remember so many times I'd go into the bedroom to get changed, whatever it was, and the dogs would just lose it because I left them, right? They'd whine, they'd bark, and then I started noticing I'm super tensed up and rushing and stressing myself out because I'm just trying to hurry up and get back to them to stop them from getting all excited
Drifting. Yeah.
because I'm afraid they're going to get excited and then one of them's going to attack the other for it, you know?
Yeah.
And when I realized that, wow, I am all stressed and rushing and and I thought I did an experiment. I said, I'm just going to breathe through this and I'm going to bring myself back down and just, trust that it's going to be okay. And I'm going to take my time getting dressed. And then when I come back out, I come back out and they'll be okay. And what a difference. Now I can go into any room in the house and they're all calm and quiet and okay with it.
Wow, that's the best example that you could give. That's all energy that you learn to manage instead of being a victim of it.
Yes. Yes.
You have
That's when
control
I
of
took ownership of it's not the dogs, it's me. Yeah.
it. Totally is.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, how can if people want to learn more about what you do or look into getting certified or just learning how to become a
Right.
practitioner themselves, how can they get in touch with you?
So I think the best way right now is just simply to reach out to me on Facebook or Messenger. Um, Eventually, I would send them to my website, but it's not quite up to date right now with this will help them. So I would say just reach out if you want further information or you want to connect. I'm happy to either, uh, uh, work on dogs, or I'm happy to share the information of how your people can learn to do this themselves.
Great, great.
And all I care about is the world getting better for the dogs. It's not about me. So, yeah, if they just want more information, they can just reach out. Now, on Facebook, my name is Chris Huppe, and I'll spell it since it can be different ways. Chris is Chris, and Huppe is Huppe. And my Facebook business page is Holistic Holistic Health for Horses and Dogs.
Okay.
And they can certainly peruse my website, which is chrishuppe.com.
Okay.
But ideally, I would say just connect with me on Messenger, Chris Huppe, and we would take it from there with whatever particular question they had or need that they had.
Okay.
Super happy to help. I just so badly want dogs to be happier.
Okay. And you do sessions of teaching or helping the owners typically,
So
uh,
I don't teach the
right?
emotion code, but I will put them in touch with the resources that do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would just share that information with them and they can.
So can they
Oh,
also recommend to the pet owners, recommend you to the pet owners?
yes, and I have yes. So if somebody was interested in that, I would still say reach out to me because I'm going to send you a special site, which is chrishuppe.com/trapped emotions.
Okay.
I'll send you there, which would be very informative about what this is all about and how they can enlist my services
Okay.
or how their owners could.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've taken up enough of your time, but before we go, is there anything else that you feel we haven't covered that would just be, good for people to know, especially pet sitters, dog walkers, anything like that?
I think we've been pretty complete. I would just probably leave by, thanking everyone who's listening for everything that you do for the animals. Um, by virtue of the fact that you're even listening to this, I know that you're helping the world for them and on their behalf. I have chills just saying it. I feel so much love and admiration and gratitude for you. I'll just leave you with that.
It's
I'm just
beautiful.
so grateful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Chris. Happy we absolutely loved having you. I know I did. I'm sure everyone else is going to as well. And we're just, anytime you want to come back, you just let me know and we'll send people your way if they have any questions. But I really appreciate this. I think the animals will appreciate it just as much too. So thank you.
Totally been my pleasure and honor. Thank you for having me.